was very successful. It was a great show. It was very successful, and I told you last time I was here, I'd come back every weekend if I could.
Você achava que a torcida brasileira fosse tão acolhedora quanto foi?
We weren't sure. We weren't sure when we did that first event. Obviously, if we thought it was going to be as big as it was, we would have done a bigger stadium the first time. But yeah, we were very happy with the results here. Not only for our first event here, but everything that's going on in Brazil right now. Brazil is a very important market to us.
No Brasil, o MMA tem uma relação muito estreita com o futebol. E você gosta de futebol?
I don't know anything about soccer, and I really don't know anything about it. I'm a fight guy.
O UFC Brasil vive um caso de amor, mas o Dana White já se apaixonou pelas belezas brasileiras?
Interesting. Every time that I'm here, I usually go straight from wherever I'm going to the interviews, to the fight, to the this, to the that. I really haven't had a chance to tour anywhere around Brazil or see anything. This is actually, in a few hours, will be my first time of ever going to Sao Paulo. Well, the last fight was incredible. Most people know that Anderson Silva was injured going into that fight. I think that Anderson Silva will be so fired up for that fight, and especially in his home country. I don't know. I hope that fight happens.
E quantos eventos vocês planejam para 2012 no Brasil?
As many as we possibly can.
Por que acha que os brasileiros se apaixonaram tão rápidos pelo MMA?
I think that it's a fighting culture down here. I think that here's my philosophy, and this is how we got into the UFC. I don't care what color you are, what country you come from, or what language you speak. We're all human beings, and fighting's in our DNA. We get it and we like it, and they just get it and like it a lot more in Brazil.
Por que eles são perseguidos pelos fãs de boxe no Twitter?
I'm looked at as the guy who's trying to kill boxing, but I've said it a zillion times. I love boxing. That's where I came from. Boxing has a lot of problems. I didn't create those problems. They created those problems themselves.
Yes. E acha que os principais lutadores do mundo cumprem suas ordens por respeito ou porque você é o homem do dinheiro?
Probably a little bit of both.
Até que ponto ter 3 grandes campeões assim, quase que invencíveis dentro do UFC é bom pro evento?
You mean having like a John Jones, Anderson Silva, and George St. Pierre? Yeah, I think it's good. I like when guys dominate weight classes. I like guys. Anderson Silva, he hasn't lost ever in the UFC. He's been in the UFC since 2006. He had one fight that wasn't a title fight. Every other fight has been for the title, except for the 2 that he moved up to another weight class and fought. I love stuff like that. I love guys that are dominant like that. Anderson Silva is the Mike Tyson of MMA.
E pegando esse gancho do Anderson Silva, ele já disse que pretende se aposentar. O empresário dele disse que ele pretende se aposentar em 2 anos. Você acha que vai ser um duro golpe financeiro para o UFC a aposentadoria do Anderson Silva?
No, I mean, that's what everybody said what's going to happen when Chuck Liddell retires? What's going to happen when Randy Couture retires? What's going to happen when Matt Hughes retires? It's the sport. People retire. It is what it is. I think the day that Anderson Silva retires, the UFC will make a big deal about it, and they'll go down as one of probably the greatest ever, and a legend in the UFC. I don't think about stuff like that.
Uma máquina de fazer dinheiro. Qual o segredo?
First of all, is obviously believing in the sport and in the brand, and number 2 is the relationship between me and the Fertitta brothers, because when we started out, this wasn't as successful as it is now. We went through some hard times, and normally when you go through hard times, there's a lot of finger pointing over who's screwing it up, and then when it becomes incredibly successful, you got all the guys wanting to take the credit for it, and I deserve this and I deserve that. We never had any of that. We all have no ego about this thing. We love it, and we stay focused and stay on track.
Uma alegria e uma decepção dentro do esporte, já que ele é um fã de MMA, ele só faz isso.
There's been so many happy, good milestones and moments and things that we've had. There've been so many. I guess the biggest and the best one I could say is getting the big Fox deal in the United States. I think we had, some setbacks, and things that you learn from, but never anything really bad. There was never anything really horrible that happened to us. It just, we knew this was going to be a challenge, and I don't know what I think of that. I mean, yes, these guys are. I mean, I guess that's one way to look at it. Yeah, these guys are. If you look throughout history of combat sports, and what's been big and popular, if you look at boxing, that started, in the late 1800s, and then literally dominated the 1900s. Yeah, I would say that he's not far off. These guys are. This is the new combat sport of the future.
Qual futuro você vê para as mulheres no MMA?
I do think there are not enough good women in MMA. I think that there's some good one-off fights here and there, but as this sport continues to grow, especially now here in Brazil too, as big as it's getting in Brazil, the United States, Canada, the UK, Australia, and the rest of the world. I mean, we're in 175 countries and over 500 million homes worldwide on television. It's inevitable. There are going to be women who are going to train and become very good and want to fight professionally. First of all, anybody who went to that event was blown away and had a great time. I think they'll want to go to another event, and I think people that got locked out of the first event because there weren't enough tickets will want to go to this event. And I always say, the UFC is fun to watch on television. It's a great sporting event to watch on TV with your friends and everything, but there's nothing like seeing the UFC live.
Grande abraço aí a galera do Marca Brasil.
Galera, comandante Silva, um abraço para todos vocês aí do Marca Brasil.